Welcome to Mysteries Crime Stories, where shadows hold secrets, and justice sometimes takes decades to arrive. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments, and stay with us as we unravel one of Georgia's most haunting cold cases. This is the story of a little girl named Keke, a mother named Evelyn Odom, and the decades of silence that were finally shattered by science. The Discovery, 1988. It was the fall of 1988 in rural Georgia, the kind of small community where everyone knew each other, where gossip traveled faster than the wind. And then, one morning, construction workers digging near an old property site stumbled on something strange. They uncovered a hardened block of concrete. At first, it looked like nothing more than discarded rubble, but when one worker struck it with his pickaxe, the block split open, revealing something horrifying inside. Wrapped tightly in worn blankets were the skeletal remains of a child. The sight was so chilling that the men froze in disbelief. Some swore they would never forget the smell, the heavy, earthy stench of decay that had somehow been sealed within that concrete tomb for years. Police were immediately called to the scene, and as investigators carefully extracted the remains, they saw the small frame, the fragile bones, of a child no older than 5 or 6. This wasn't just a crime. This was a burial meant to silence, meant to erase. But whose child was this? The initial mystery. Detectives faced a wall of questions. There was no immediate identification, no missing child report that matched perfectly. The body had been hidden too well, stripped of identity. Forensics in 1988 were limited. DNA testing was in its infancy, costly and not widely available. So investigators did what they could. They analyzed the blankets, the concrete, the condition of the remains. But no clear leads emerged. The little girl, who would later be identified as Keke, remained nameless for years. In the meantime, whispers moved through the town. Who would bury a child in such a cold, deliberate way? The mother, Evelyn Odom. Back then, Evelyn Odom lived a seemingly ordinary life. But beneath the surface, neighbors described her as distant, quick to anger, and secretive about her family. She had a daughter, Keke, a bright-eyed 5-year-old known for her playful energy and innocent laughter. But strangely, Evelyn rarely allowed Keke to be seen in public. There were rumors that the girl had gone to live with relatives, or that she had been sent away. Evelyn never gave the same answer twice, and for years, no one pressed hard enough. It wasn't until after the concrete discovery that certain neighbors began to piece things together. "Where's Keke?" one asked. But by then, Evelyn had already distanced herself, and the trail grew cold. The cold case years. The investigation slowed to a crawl. Detectives held on to the remains, hoping someday technology would advance enough to reveal the truth. But throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, the case languished. Still, there were investigators who never forgot. Files remained open, sitting in evidence rooms like ghosts waiting to be heard. The little girl in concrete had a story, and justice would not stay buried forever. Forensic genealogy, a breakthrough. By the late 2010s, forensic genealogy emerged as a revolutionary tool in solving cold cases. Using DNA from unidentified remains, specialists could trace family trees, connecting distant relatives through online databases. In this case, a small fragment of bone from the child's remains was enough. The DNA profile was built, and slowly, painstakingly, genealogists connected the dots. The results pointed to a woman still alive, a woman who had long lived in the shadow of her secret. That woman was Evelyn Odom. The confrontation. When detectives knocked on Evelyn's door, decades had passed since Keke's death. She was older now, her face lined with time, but the truth she carried had not aged. Confronted with the DNA evidence, Evelyn could no longer deny it. The child in the concrete was her daughter, 5-year-old Keke. And then, the questions that had haunted investigators for years came rushing back. Why? Why kill your own child? Why seal her in concrete, as if trying to erase her existence? Courtroom drama. The courtroom became a stage for the unthinkable. Prosecutors laid out the timeline. They described the blankets, the careful wrapping, the deliberate pouring of concrete over a small body. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't neglect. It was murder. Evelyn sat quietly during most of the proceedings, her expression unreadable. Some witnesses said she looked detached, as if she were listening to someone else's story. But when photographs of Keke were shown, the tiny girl with bright eyes, the courtroom fell silent. Jurors turned away. Reporters described the air as heavy, suffocating. One prosecutor told the jury, "This child was not just buried, she was erased. But science brought her back, and now justice will follow." Evelyn's defense offered little that could explain the horror. There was no compelling reason, no justification. The jury deliberated, and when they returned, Evelyn Odom was convicted of murdering her daughter. For investigators, it was a bittersweet victory. It had taken more than 3 decades, but Keke finally had her name restored. She was no longer the child in concrete. She was remembered as the little girl she once was. Neighbors who remembered Evelyn spoke of guilt. Guilt for not asking harder questions. Guilt for believing the lies about where Keke had gone. But the truth is, sometimes evil hides in plain sight, haunting reflection. Think about it. How does a mother cross that line? How does someone look at their child and choose silence, concrete, oblivion? The answers may never come. Evelyn has given little explanation and perhaps never will. But Keke's story reminds us that no crime stays buried forever. Science, persistence, and time can bring the past roaring back to life. And justice, even delayed, still has a voice. This case is a reminder of how far forensic technology has come, and how important it is to keep fighting for the voiceless. Keke will never grow up. She'll never see the sun again. But her story lives on. And her killer will never escape the truth. Thank you for watching Mysteries Crime Stories. If you found this story as haunting as we did, please subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments, and share this video to help keep Keke's memory alive. Because in the end, justice delayed is still justice served.